Yes, well, welcome to the Reflector, our Zoom on Reflectors. And I find it very interesting that they say there's 1 in 100. Okay, just a moment. I keep on doing this. I need to turn this off. There we go. About 1 in 100 people is.
Are you recording also on YouTube, on Zoom?
No, I just do it straight to YouTube.
Okay.
It's easier on my computer, less data on my computer. Yeah. So yes, there's a little bit more than 1% of the population is reflectors, is what they say. And in our group of about 70 people, we have 5 reflectors. I was thinking about what that means, and I think it could mean that reflectors, well, they're really not understood because there's so few of them. And so human design has a lot to say about reflectors. Let's just have a look at what a reflector is. So a reflector is a person who does not have any full channels. And because there are no full channels, just individual gates, there are also no centers defined. All the centers are open. So this is Lorenz. This is Anna. This is Elizabeth. All centers undefined, open. When we talk about the general types, we found them very useful to learn about, but we do also have to know that this is putting the population, the people, into 4 categories. And of course, every one of us is very unique. So it's finding what does it actually mean to be a reflector, and where are they amongst each other, different from each other. And that comes in the various gates. So, Elizabeth has different gates that are open from Lorenz. And we don't have yours, Maren, do we? But that's okay. And then there's all sorts of other things that are different, where the planets are exactly, which way these arrows are pointing, these arrows here. The profile is different for each one of them. And what it says up here is also depending on the program you're using. Here, the strategy is wait a lunar cycle as a strategy. Inner authority, none. But in other programs, it will say there is no strategy and no authority. But it's not quite true. We'll look at that in a moment. There are different strategies, and we've looked at what works for Lorenz and what doesn't work for Lorenz. So we can see, because there are so many open centers, these babies, as soon as they are born, they are conditioned by everybody else. Everyone has expectations and demanding things of you reflectors. And exactly that is what doesn't work. You cannot have expectations of a reflector, because the aura of a reflector, it's said that it's like Teflon. So nothing actually sticks. You know, Lorenz and me, Lorenz is the reflector and I'm the generator. We are amongst people. We're in a group, we're in a meeting, and we come out of that. And I'm carrying, because I've got this enveloping aura, I'm carrying all the issues that were around in that meeting. And Lorenz, he comes out, he spends some time by himself, and I can talk about all the things I'm still carrying from everybody else. And Lorenz is it doesn't really touch him. It's just like, yeah, okay. And yeah, so how do you speak to a reflector? What I found is you can't demand, you can't say, let's come and do things, you can't invite them. What you can do is just very politely ask the reflector. And Lorenz is actually staying on the land of a woman where he's doing workaways, and her eyes shine and she says, Lorenz is so wonderful. I'm just thinking, she's a generator, I'm just thinking about, well, maybe this could be done, and the next moment it's already done. So she's not, when she does that, she's not pushing him, she's not putting force into him or intent into him. She's just yeah, in a way, politely asking, and she feels she's not even asking. So yeah, I've also found, spending time with Lorenz, the best thing really is to just let them do their thing. Don't ask, don't demand, don't suggest. Just let them work in their own space. To me, as a full-on generator, it's a lot about being together and doing things and discussing things and so on. But the reflector, to me, there's no energy. Yeah. And so when you listen to this recording, for those who jump in later or listen to this later, please do comment on what you think is truly reflector and what is just specific to Lorenz. Yeah, it's this so non-energy type, so none of those full channels where the energy just goes through is what I feel really makes a big difference. And it really means also that the reflectors, they experience a lot of being flattened by people with a full channel where they have one gate. There's so many possibilities because there's so many gates open and no channels. There's so many more possibilities for the reflectors just to be flattened by the others, flattened by people who have the full channel.
When you say flattened, what do you mean by that?
I mean, somebody has like just this gate and the other person has the full channel. It's there's a technical term which I can't think of right now because different systems use a different term.
Like electromagnetics?
No, not the opposite. I mean the full channel. Lorenz, can you help? It's not the dominance.
No, it's called compromise, and where a person has the full channel and the other person only has the gate. Yeah, there is this, you could say, the quality of the single gate cannot really come out. It's always compromised by the full channel. And that's what we experience as flattening, or that's the word Una chooses, which I think is quite accurate. It's like somebody has a stronger force. Sometimes it can feel like being run over, and at other times for me it can feel like a quality that I know that I have is just doesn't work. It's like I cannot bring it out. I cannot live it because the aura of the other person is kind of overriding that.
So I have an example with my husband. Can I share that?
Please do.
Please.
So my husband, he is Mani-Gen, and he has the Alpha channel 31-7, and I have gate 7. So when he is at home, he has always been the leader. He is the one that's running the house, but he is traveling a lot away. And then I'm stepping up as the leader. But as soon as he is home, I'm like, no, I'm dropping everything. He's the leader.
Yeah.
And this was before I knew human design. So it's awesome to see. That's what it is.
Yeah, that's very cool. And of course, everybody has this experience of being flattened or compromised somewhere. Me too, as a generator, I've got the 23 up here from the throat to the ajna, and it's my only gate in the throat. So when somebody comes, and there's a lot of people who have the 23, 40, 41, 40, 23, 43, that part in me as a child, I always felt that people didn't want to hear me. People are not listening to me, and so on. And so I backed off, but I was, disappointed. I didn't feel good about it until I realized that it's not that people are trying to put me down. It's just that they have that energy, and I can now see it as very, very beautiful when there's this beautiful full channel energy. So that's really, the alpha, the channel of the alpha. That's and you probably experience it in other gates too. And Lorenz and I also experience it. Lorenz, where is it?
I think the biggest one for me is between the 44, 20. I can't see the other number right now. 26.
26.
Yeah. It's my personality sun, and Una has the full channel. So
you have the same as me. I have 44,
same.
24 as well. No, but I don't have 33. But I have 44 as well as my conscious sun.
Oh, interesting. But a different
line
incarnation cross.
Yeah. So that's I have 13-7 after, but I'm a 6-2 profile, so we have different profiles.
Yeah, but that makes the experience for you similar in being overridden in your sun. What happens for me there, and I think now we're getting really around to it, working very well. I was used to, of course, dealing with this, who is in the tribe and who fits, and this awareness of the 44, of how people work together and kind of adjusting them. So it works. That was my experience. And then Una has the full channel. So at the start, we made Una set up a conscious experiment of letting me handle a situation like that. And it just became clear and also visible for both of us that it would have been better if she had done it. And after some process of that is just happening automatically, because there's a quality that I can't really use when Una is around. Now it's turned into exactly what you say. So when Una is around and we're in a group setting together with other people, I just let her handle the people, and it works very, very well. And Una instead asks me for my views and my opinions, but I can even lean back and just know that, look, it's just her part. It's her channel. And what I find so fascinating is how big the potential for drama is, how big the potential for misunderstanding is in these kinds of situations, and how awareness helps us step out of that story and live in a way that is so much more harmonious and also benefiting for everyone. Because I mean, it's obvious that Una just has this quality. I did need some time to let go of my experience as well, and kind of rewrite how this whole thing is working. And now it's easy for me. I know that it's there when she is not around, and I know to let her handle these kind of situations when she is around, and it works very well.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
Okay, I assume
Celia,
I know what you said while I was away.
Yeah.
Is it right that this is for every 4 categories the same? Because when you talked about 44, and I have the same. I don't have the full channel. I have only the gate. So, and I was thinking, that's it.
Yeah, it's the same for everyone.
Yeah, when someone is there who is, then I step back, but I observe and I see what could be better, but I have to wait for invitation.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yes, and this, because we've been together so long looking at human design, I asked Lorenz, so with you, knowing where your gates are and knowing where I override you, I would ask you for your opinion, and then still I would do it. Or where you override me, which is possible for you, Piliaka, I don't know. You could, it might be areas where you override me, and then it would be you who really runs it, but good for you to get my perspective also. So this is not necessarily about generators and reflectors. Together it's about everybody. Generators can override each other. It's just that the reflectors, they never override anybody else because they don't have any channels. They don't have. You have one. Okay, yes, true.
In the head.
Which one is it that you have?
The 64-47.
Okay, yeah. So
In
you
the
don't
head.
override me. Up here somewhere,
So
huh?
that would be a very interesting question. For me, at least, like what is reflector and what is not reflector, because that's the special thing, that reflectors never override anybody else. So what I have people describe is that, and it's not for all of them, but for some people, when they come into my aura and we spend some time, I can visibly see them relax, and they also say it, that they can relax and drop and get out of any nervous state that they were in. Some also describe like non-dangerous. I'm not dangerous. But for me, it would be very, very interesting to know what about that is reflector, and what would be simply me, and maybe found somewhere else. Because that is a special thing, not having the possibility to override anyone.
Yeah, and I think what one also has to recognize that you, Lorenz, you've been working on deconditioning for so long. So for the reflector, he's the reflector from.
Among others, yes. But Una had something to say. Sorry.
So the reflectors for so long have been conditioned in all these centers that it takes a lot of work to decondition, to not be to not try to be something that they're not. So I could see that possibly some reflectors, or maybe you remember from before, Lorenz, before you deconditioned, are trying to override others. But
I mean that they won't ever be able to, but I'm not saying that every reflector feels instantly nice or relaxing. I haven't met so many, but I've heard enough to know that that is not the case. So it definitely has something to do with correctness. Yeah. How is it for you? Do you experience the same, Maren?
Yeah, I've been in some reflector groups, and some of them I've had a reading with one, and I was supposed to have a reading with another one, and I have actually paid for it, but I didn't use it because I couldn't match up with him. And with other reflectors, I feel like great connection. So yeah, it's not like every reflector I meet that I feel so calm with them. No, that's not the case. But the ones that I feel like they are more in alignment, yeah, those are more calm. And what friends around me say is, I have lots of generator friends, and they say, oh, it's so nice to just hang around you because I feel so calm when I'm around you. So yeah, it depends, I guess.
Yeah, very interesting. Let's see, where do we go from here? What I've noticed about reflectors, or the one reflector that I know, is, of course, because they're open everywhere, but nothing sticks, because they're open everywhere, they see a whole system. They can really grasp a whole system. And the system can be astronomy, it can be human design, it can be crypto, it can be a group of people, it can be nature, trees. They look at the whole system and they see what works in the system, and they see also that one thing that does not work. But they themselves are still. The generator is busy doing this, that. The generator may have a sort of an idea of, but the generator's right in the system, right in amongst the people. And you look from this level, you're seeing everything from the same level. The reflector sees from, I want to say above, it's not above, looking down. It's not like that. It's just having an inner understanding of the whole system and how the system works. Because they taste a little bit of every person that stay with people. They taste a little bit of everything and see how it works together. And so then what the reflector can do with that information is all sorts of things. That's not part of the reflector thing. It's part of the individual, part of their personal personality, is when they see that something doesn't fit. For example, in a school class, they could bully that one that doesn't fit. Or they can create an atmosphere that brings that one that doesn't fit in. Or the way Lorenz and I work is that Lorenz brings the information to me. I look at it and feel it out from my own perspective, and then I take action. Lorenz, do you want to say something to that?
Yeah, another very interesting topic to see how it works for other reflectors. It's exactly as Una describes. When I was a kid, I wasn't the nice kid. I was an absolutely awful kid. That kind of tried to belong to a group by bullying others and belonging to a group in that way. Took about until I was 13, 14 that I realized that that might not be the best way to do things. So there is definitely an intuitive knowledge. Then it was about what will really stick to people, what will really make them furious. And Ra also describes reflectors. So Ra he has a lot of ways how he describes reflectors, but in one of his talks, he talks about how they are the worst policemen. If you want to know who steps out of line, you put in an unconscious reflector, and they'll keep whatever you want in line. There is this sense of, as Una said, this doesn't fit and that doesn't fit. And then it changed. And for the longest time, I have been trying to, like, seeing what doesn't work, trying to somehow learn how can I incorporate this awareness, you could say, of what doesn't work. And it's very, very clear to me. It's really a challenge seeing so clearly what doesn't work and not being able to do anything about it. That is how it is so far. I haven't found a way to consistently do anything about. There's some windows cleaned behind me. I haven't found a way so far to consistently change something for the better when I see what doesn't work. And with Una, it's still an experiment, but it feels so good to not have the responsibility. And also someone who actually gets what I'm saying. That's the other problem usually. So if I'm in a group, what happens most often is that I'm in a group setting and I can see that they lost their path. They're going in a direction that they didn't initially want to, or someone is dragging the group down. Somebody is bringing in very bad energy. There might even be sabotage or intrigue going on. But everybody is so engrossed in the process that I cannot give them awareness about what's happening because they won't accept it. And other than talking about it, there doesn't seem to be too many ways with which I can work so far. So by just putting it to Una, and she has very many ways with which she can work, and Una actually getting me, that is a first and a new to me, and it feels extremely good. And at the same time, there is always this kind of, it's like it doesn't feel comfortable seeing what is going on and not knowing what to do with it. It's a struggle. It's always a struggle. I would very much like to know how then to transform the situation for the better.
Yeah, I think it's a lot to do with the awareness of the community. You know, our idea really is to be in community where people get human design, and we just had a group last weekend where we were talking about human design, just basically the types, and having lots of fun with everybody in the circle, and trying to get what the other type is like and how the other type functions, and how difficult it is for generators, for example, to not ask direct questions of a projector. It takes a lot of training. So what I think, Lorenz, is that we're in such a community where human design is understood. People will understand the reflector much better, and will be able to listen. You know, they hear this voice from somewhere which doesn't have a full channel, and they'll know, oh, there's probably something important being said there. I mean, there's also these reflectors who are completely in the not self when it comes to the throat, and they talk and talk and talk, and the audience, and they just lose their audience because they talk so much. But you don't do that. You've really cleared your not self, Lorenz. So when you talk and say something, my ears pick up. One of the examples we had was we had four types in the room: a generator, a manifestor, projector, and Lorenz, the reflector, me, the generator. And yes, the manifestor came in and said, "Let's go to the cafe." Or you tell the story, Lorenz.
Yeah, it's such a funny story. Another question about if it's just me or all the reflectors, but I'll put that question at the end. Yeah, we were all four types, and the manifestor is coming in and saying, let's play cards. I want to play cards. Let's play cards. And then, kind of getting conscious about herself, she asks into the room, shall we play cards? And I could see the confusion. And basically just the projector was lying on the couch and absolutely didn't know what to do. And Una was still kind of waiting, but she was happy to play cards. That was clear because she could answer to the question. And yeah, kind of seeing that and sorting it out, because they were happy to be experimented on. I simply said, so Augusta wants to play cards. Una, do you want to play cards? And Una went, aha. And then to the projector, you're invited to play as well if you want. And I think I said, I'll pass for now, or I'll play. I don't know what I said. And it was so fun to see how the whole room relaxed once everybody was addressed in a way that was serving for them. The projector didn't have to have an answer, and he could then easily say no, which was very difficult when asked by the manifestor directly. He didn't have an answer.
Yeah. I'm thinking of Ra's example of a restaurant for all different types. The generator comes into the restaurant, sits down, and needs to be asked, do you want some dessert? Do you want a soup? Do you want salad? And the manifestor needs a buffet, because the manifestor just gets up and helps himself. The reflector, because his strategy is really to wait a lunar cycle, is what it is officially. We'll talk about that in a moment. He cannot make a decision in the now, really, one that it becomes very clear. The reflector just gets the menu of the day. And the projector needs to be invited, so the projector gets to come in for free. No strings attached. Yeah, let's go to what we found about the reflector strategy and authority. So the strategy is, help me out, Lorenz.
Before we go
Okay.
on, I would really like to hear from Maren if you have. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Sorry. If you have any have you any resonance? Do you share similar experiences?
Am I going to reply to all of what you just said, or is there a specific thing you want to comment?
I mean, if you have, what I'm most curious, I would say, is if you have that same kind of feeling of seeing things but not knowing how to address them.
But not knowing how to address them. What do you mean by that?
Like if you're in a group setting or any other setting, work setting, for example, and you see what doesn't work, but you can't find a way to actually express it or change it for the better.
No, I've tried. I was put in a group. I was an isolated group, and I was new, and I was invited to tell them, like, what can we do better here? And after some weeks, then I told them, because I had many years experience of that kind of work, and yeah, I shared, and I was thinking about the materials that they were ruining, and they were not doing things in a good way. But do you think that was what's it called? Like, they didn't take it well. So I was pointing at some things that weren't working right, but they just got angry, and then it was no good after that. So it kind of ruined my self-esteem to actually go point out what doesn't work, because people are not always ready to hear it, even though they are inviting you to actually tell them.
You.
Welcome, Elizabeth, another reflector. Wonderful. Yeah. What I see, like when you speak about that, Maren, and I see Lorenz speak about it, it is where I see that the reflectors are, I'll say, somewhere in the clouds. They see the system, but they're not really involved in the full energy. It's that aura that doesn't fully embrace. And so it cannot, I think, really work with the energy of the other people, but you can see the whole system. So when you try to tell a group what to do, it's very much up here, is what I notice. And I also see the reflector as perhaps the axis around which the whole system turns. So the reflector is very still, very calm in a way, and there's all this stuff, drama perhaps, happening around, and they can see it. And if the drama that happens around the axis gets sorted, then we have a really, really good system. So the reflector, there's this story, I think it's from Ra, there's a story of this kindergarten teacher, and they're putting on a show for Christmas, and they're playing musical chairs. So all the children are in a circle around, sitting on their chairs and then playing music. And the reflector is off in the corner. Now the teacher, of course, wants to do well for the parents, and so she asks the reflector, "Where do you want to sit?" And the reflector says, "In the middle." So the reflector is actually sitting right in the middle of the system, able to taste everything, but not really having to interact, and also in that way probably not being overridden or flattened or compromised by the other people with all their channels.
Yeah, absolutely. I just have to laugh at Maren's story, because it's such a, like, I absolutely know what you're talking about. It is exactly my experience for a lot of time, and then comes the confusion of, why did you invite me, and the confusion of why all this drama. There is I don't know. Maybe I get the chance to spend some time in a group of reflectors at some point. I think it would be very interesting and see how that feels.
You mean physically?
Physically, yeah.
Yeah. Well, probably because you'll have electromagnetic gates, things, I mean, it'd be interesting to know, things will happen, because you'll start defining the chakras, defining the centers.
Actually,
Probably,
can I tell about a meeting with a reflector?
Sure.
So the first time I saw this man, I was like, I've seen it before. I have no idea where, and I can't figure out how, but I felt like it. And later on, and also the chemistry was like boom, it was like soulmates, and it was like I just knew him. And I looked up his human design, and he is a reflector, a 6-2, just like me. And we have all centers defined to reflectors.
Oh, wow.
That
Oh
was
my
just
goodness.
amazing to see that. I was like, wow. So that was a cool meeting.
Yeah, it's Ra says that ideally, or maybe the easiest way to have a partner is within your own type. So generators with generators, reflectors with reflectors, and projectors with projectors. But of course, that's not really how the world works, except for lots of generators are in relationships with other generators.
Lucky ones don't need to look that far.
Yeah, and still we find many that are not actually. The readings that we gave, I also think they like to pair up with something that's different. We have had so many readings with manifestor projector, generator projector, generator manifestor, manifestor projector. Having a generator couple, I find, for how normal it should be, isn't actually that normal.
Well, maybe they just don't have problems and don't need to look at human design.
Okay, maybe.
Well, I think okay, type is one thing, but I think the centers are just as important. Like if you are defined or undefined and how that matches up.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So what I've also found with Lorenz, and I think it is said generally about reflectors, is that they're always trying to find out who they are. And really, we can help the reflector by telling them, just forget about that. Don't worry about who you are. The thing is to figure out how the system works. It's about figuring out the system. That's what I see that you're here for. And one of the things for us non-reflectors with reflectors, or maybe also reflectors amongst each other, is about initiating the reflector. A reflector needs to be initiated. That's his strategy. Wait for to being initiated. Is that right?
I mean, it's kind of unofficial, but yeah, it's something that I really like. I wouldn't say that you can call it a strategy, but it's something that feels really good. The strategy, I think, is still waiting. But yeah, you could call it like that, being initiated by something. Yeah, sure.
Yes, and so initiation. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, it's like every time I need to do the housework here, then I always call my generator sister and I just tell her to put me into work. And then she initiates me and then I hang up.
Wonderful.
Yeah, it is. I get to taste her energy and then I just do it.
That is really interesting what you're saying, Maren, because I could feel that at certain points where we were together, Lorenz, and you feel it too, Lorenz, you just use my generator energy. All I have to do is sit there, and Lorenz just sort of works through the day, does this, does that. And you say you actually do more work when I'm around. Right?
I feel the same because I'm much alone with my kids and I am having kind of lazy days or slow days. But when my husband, the manager, arrives at home, then I'm all working and doing so much stuff. And he didn't tell me to do that. It's just his energy affecting me.
Yeah, I definitely think that that happens. I wouldn't say that it's something that I necessarily enjoy.
No. No.
But it's definitely something that happens, yeah.
So then we come to that the reflector really needs time by themselves, right? And Ra, of course, says sleep in your own bedroom. And it's, for me as a generator, when Lorenz, we're in the same house perhaps, and Lorenz doesn't come out of the bedroom for 2 days. In the beginning, I would think, oh dear, what have I done? What did I say wrong? What's the problem? Is he processing something? Something must be wrong, because when I lock myself into my bedroom, something's very wrong. I haven't done that since childhood, but that's the feeling for the generator. But Lorenz, he's fine. He's in his own space, and you know that when he comes out, he's so happy, so glowing, so content.
Yeah. You wanted to talk about the strategy. Maybe we can say something about that, because it's strategy and inner authority for the reflector are a point of controversy.
Yes, it's not clear because it often says none. So here, for example, it says wait a lunar cycle, but I would almost see that as inner authority, not as strategy. Wait to be initiated, or wait until you get the feeling of being initiated, and then your inner authority, knowing whether it's a yes or no, you wait a lunar cycle. So initiation means, for example, I would talk about energy devices that I would be excited about, and I would send Lorenz links to YouTubes, because I'm not a person who builds things and experiments, but I knew Lorenz might be, and it didn't stick the first time round. But a few months later, I was back on free energy devices, and suddenly Lorenz was interested. So that was an initiation. And then the authority, they say wait a lunar cycle, and they say that because the moon is the fastest moving planet, and it goes round and creates electromagnetic channels. So it goes through all the gates, and once all that has happened, there would usually be clarity. But Lorenz has a different experience, which makes sense to me. Do you want to talk about that, Lorenz?
Yeah, absolutely. Initiation is definitely something that just feels very, very good. Being initiated into something without an expectation is like a birthday present. It's something that really feels very good. And the inner authority I would simply describe as wait. Whatever you do, always wait. If you can only wait 5 minutes, then only wait 5 minutes. But and the bigger the decision, the longer waiting is required. I do think the lunar cycle definitely holds some sway. Where I notice it most is with people. I don't have a really good grasp on people in the first month, but after 30 days, it's very hard to fool me. But the first 30 days are kind of whatever goes. I don't make up my mind. I have no idea. I'm just gathering data. But that's for people. For decisions, it's really, I would really say, waiting is the most crucial thing. And there are these ideas about how that works with the moon. I have my strong doubts about that, and I've heard other reflectors talked with other reflectors that have the same experience. I tried it twice so far with a moon calendar. What I always understood incorrectly, that I just want to put out here, because the moon calendar is again something that is talked about a lot and not very often understood. Ra says that's actually you need to track the gates that form a channel. You don't need to track the gates that you have. So in the chart that we're looking at, if we look at the asana to the throat, you wouldn't need to track gate 11. So you wouldn't need to track when the moon is in 11. You would need to track when the gate is in, the moon is in 56. So I'll try again. I'll try again with that. But so far it has done absolutely nothing for me apart from giving me a chance to look at the gates, which was interesting. But waiting is absolutely crucial, and not letting anybody else pull you into a decision when there is no clarity. There is a state of clarity for me at least, and I think that's for all reflectors. There is a state of clarity that is possible where there is no doubt anymore. And it is often hard to get there, especially when you're around people, and especially when you're around people that try to influence you, because what I find is I am very easily influenced. Yes, it doesn't stick. But when I'm around people, I become that person. I really take that in. Mm-hmm. And if I am then pulled to make a decision in that state, it's horrible. It really doesn't work. So take time, make sure that you have time for yourself, and talking for me is absolutely crucial. Hearing myself talk to others, like having sounding boards for big decisions, is so important. I often hear things in my own voice that are insights, or I'll say something and I'm surprised by how I said that, and it makes a lot of sense. So yeah, waiting and talking about it, I would say, are the most important parts of inner authority for reflectors. Yeah.
And for me, it's waiting and feeling. I get a very distinct felt sense once everything lines up.
Absolutely, yeah. I think for me that I would describe that as the sense of clarity. And it's yes, exactly as you say, when everything lines up, it's almost like everything comes into alignment, and it's just, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And the worst thing is people trying to push me into a decision before I'm ready, because then all I will do is walk away, even if it potentially could have been the right decision. Because as soon as I'm pushed, that takes me into a place that I don't want to be.
Yeah, I see that the reflector, definitely Lorenz, has a very precise sense for what is authentic and what is not authentic.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe because you've looked at all the not self very carefully. You know when somebody's not authentic with their feelings, or not authentically using their willpower, or not authentic in the way they think. Go ahead, Maren.
Yeah, I was not going to say anything, but
okay.
I can just add to the decision making. Like I do feel like following the moon transits doesn't help me much. Following all the transits helps me more to see what kind of energy I have to operate with. So I feel like if some other planet is what's it called, like connecting my sacral, for instance, then I feel like, yeah, I do have more energy right now. So for me, it's to not only track the moon, but to track all of them. So yeah, and also when I make a choice, then it's like I build up a relationship with my intuition. So then I just know, and I feel this voice, and it's like, yeah, I'm going to do it. And I feel it like when I feel that every day, it's like, come on now, just do it, just go ahead. I've said it so many times, go, go, go every day. Okay, I'm doing it. Okay. So it's like, it's more consistent yes than I'll go.
Yeah.
Yes, Elizabeth, would you like to speak to any of the things?
No, I absolutely agree that that there's a point at which the yes is felt, or I need, this is the right thing for me to do, is felt throughout my being. Like it's not just a knowing, it's my whole, it's like I light up. It's like, absolutely, this is what I want to do. And then maybe down the road later on, I'll turn around and say, okay, I've done this for 6 weeks or whatever, it's time to walk away. And I'm finding these days, I'm getting a very strong sense of when I need to walk away too. It's become very apparent and very actually kind of challenging at times too.
Yeah.
I always joke with people that if I go out anywhere, I always have an escape route, whether it's driving my own car or I can walk or but I always have to be able to leave. So I don't know.
No, that's interesting, because it's when I first, in the beginnings of meeting Lorenz, I initiated him into crypto by connecting him on Zoom with someone, a friend of mine who was very much into crypto. And I could just see Lorenz's aura light up. It was just going so bright. And I think so that was the initiation, and that's the brightening up that you just spoke about, Elizabeth. And at the same time, at some point, it sort of dwindles away. It's not interesting anymore, I think.
Yeah. And that's okay. It's learning to be okay with it too.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that, I don't know whether it's purely a reflector trait, but certainly that recognition, I suppose it's that thing with community, right? Where you feel, where we really do sense community to the point where we know when it's functioning correctly and we know when it isn't. So do we stay and try and fix it, which isn't me, or do I go, okay, this is not where I'm meant to be, so it's time to move on?
Yeah. And I think you missed that part where Lorenz and I were talking about how Lorenz, like he knows exactly what's not working, but he can't fix it. He gives me the information because I can often fix it. Yeah.
Oh, brilliant. Yeah, I'm sorry. I was late, but I was driving. I was working today and I had to get home to get on the call.
No problem. Yeah, it's fabulous for me because I get very accurate perspectives from Lorenz, and I also get the wording that, because my throat is open and it only actually has one gate, I get the wording that I can use together with the energies that I use to shift situations.
Yeah,
and
really cool.
It's really cool. Like I want to reinforce that point, because for me it's I've never had that. For one, I never had someone who actually got me. So I mean, Una is the first person where I can simply talk and she gets everything I say. And if I don't find the words, she gets the energy. So that's to me, that is a luxury that is almost immeasurable. I've never had that. And
that's an amazing gift to have. Yeah.
It is absolutely amazing. Yeah. And this other thing we're still figuring out, but I think it becomes more and more like it's working better and better, and that is actually how it's, at least for me. But hearing you speak, Elizabeth, maybe for all Reflector, how it's actually meant to be. Like, we are not the leaders, we are the advisors and the evaluators. And somebody to see and be interested in the perspective that we can bring just feels extremely good.
Do you think we're
because
catalysts? Quite often we're catalysts in situations by our presence and by our words.
Now you might be, Elizabeth, because I'm seeing these two gates at the bottom, these formatting gates. So you might be a catalyst, but I don't see Lorenz being a catalyst.
Okay. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, that's absolutely
yeah, no
fine.
worries. No worries. So yeah.
So I've got a few questions. Let's see. Because there's so much of understanding the system, what I often find with Lorenz that is very different for me is that in earthly terms, in many situations, I cannot rely on Lorenz being alert and right there, the way I've worked with other people. For example, I'm working in a circle and I'm looking at Lorenz and hoping that he'll come and help me hold something, but he's somewhere in the clouds and I fall into the fire. Or I have this realization that this was in Kenya, the monkeys will come in if we don't close the gates before we go to bed. And Lorenz realizes that this is important to me and he does it, but it's not reliable. If I want that gate closed, I need to go check on it. Because Lorenz is busy with the system. Lorenz is busy with the solar system, the cosmos, the change in atmosphere, and not so much here. Do you find that too, Elizabeth and Maren? Has anybody said that to you?
I feel it's true. Go ahead, Elizabeth.
No, carry on, because I'm still thinking.
Yeah.
The words aren't there yet. Yeah.
I feel like, no, I'm not, what's it called? Like, I'm not doing a single thing every day. It's hard to make those routines. And my husband is tearing his hair off his head because I'm not doing it. Locking the door and etc. Car keys and phones. Where are my phone? I'm horrible. And he just got to live with it. But because of him, he has made so much structure that I can be more structured. But it requires practice to do a thing so many times that you just do it by habits. But yeah, it's hard. But I was curious, like you were saying he was busy with the system. Like, how does that feel for you, Lorenz, if I say it right? Like, are you actually aware of being like in the solar system? And like, how do you see the system? What is that for you?
No, I would say it resonates up to maybe 70-80%, this description, because in other terms, I am extremely practical. But what I definitely resonate with is that having something constant, I think that's just not reflectors. Like, we are the most, how do you say, there is like, if you have a channel, you have this constant life force. There is another term for constant that I like to use. Continuous, you could say. And with a reflector, there is nothing continuous whatsoever, ever. Like, there is no, maybe I can feel the year cycles. Okay, I can feel when the sun comes again, but it's like a spiral. It's not like a circle. So I'm never at the same place that I was. And I like my life to reflect that. If I have to keep myself bound to one single routine, it really feels limiting. And in the end, I can't. It would be unhealthy. Like brushing my teeth every evening is about as much routine as I've managed to establish. But So that definitely resonates. And yeah, it's almost like it is just really, really different. Seeing the system, how that translates for me is as having a very different perspective than the one that Una usually takes. If we're in the same group, I will be preoccupied with something else than what she is preoccupied, and she will often see things that I simply missed. It's not the lens that I have on, and I can go down, I can make myself available, but it's not my natural state. So I often miss it.
Yeah.
And I sometimes miss it when it's crucial and Una falls into the fire.
Yeah, so
that all makes so much sense to me. I really like what you both just said, because that really explains me. I was raised in an extremely structured environment as a child. Like everything was organized, structured. You did what you were told. You didn't break the rules. Same at school, where you sat in your desk and you were quiet and you behaved and you weren't allowed to talk between, like so many rules. So it took me a lot of years to break out of that, I think, and to understand that that wasn't my nature, because I'd lived with it for so many years. I didn't understand how to be any other way. Now I'm totally the opposite. It's like somebody took the chains off, and I kind of, so yeah, I live with to-do lists, because it's the only way I'm ever going to get anything done, to have to-do lists. I work for myself. I spent the last month helping out my friend at her bookstore. Now, only a couple of hours a day here and there. And I realized to go back to that corporate or that structured environment was so hard for me. I mean, I managed, and I know I was good with the customers and good at getting everything done, but did it fit me? No, not at all. Which is fascinating for me, to be pulled back into something and realize how much I've changed and how much I cannot live that way anymore. So
yes, they do not want to be controlled. Reflectors do not want to be controlled, and that's why Lorenz has never paid taxes or had a passport until it was really necessary. So even that system. And when I say Lorenz feels into this system, it's like we'd be sitting there looking out into the ocean, and he'll say, something has changed. Something has changed in the ether, or whatever you want to call it.
Wow. Yeah. How lovely that you guys can express that to each other.
Yeah, it's really a privilege.
I actually sat down a couple of days ago, and I haven't had a chance to really go through it, but I pulled up the charts for two of my closest friends and looked at what channels we by being together were activated. And it was absolutely fascinating, because it pinpointed why, to me, or clarified to me why we were such good friends. I could see how they enabled things in me and how I enabled things in them. And it was really cool. I'd never done anything like it before. I'm fairly new to human design. I know enough to be dangerous, and that's it.
Yeah, it's my sense is that for reflectors, there is no way of making a decision in the way others make decisions. But it's about finding that thing that is greater than the single individual human being. It's greater than all of us. The reflector goes to that space that that has no name, and takes the decision from that field. Doesn't take the decision from within themselves, but takes the decision from within that which is greater than us.
Right. We read everything constantly until something comes that something says, there's your decision, or there's your right, there's what feels right. that everything just, I can't even explain it. But it's like, as you say, it's everywhere, all around, and then you absorb, you take in, you like observe constantly, and then there's this settling that happens that goes, this is an alignment, and then I can move forward. Having the good friends helps because we can talk, but I can't have somebody make a decision for me.
Yeah, no control.
It's
Don't
painful.
take control. Yes. Right. Yeah. Like chains. I liked what you said with the chains. It's like getting the chains off once being out of the control of the corporate system or the school.
And the family.
And the family, yes, everybody
Oh,
else.
God.
And just let them do. It's something that Lorenz explained to me for a generator. Very important to realize Lorenz's ideal situation in a community would be that all the generators are very happy doing whatever they're doing in the center of the room, being happy or dancing or talking or whatever it is, and he's off in a corner doing his thing.
Mm.
And I looked at him and I felt into that. So for the reflector, that works. For the generator, you feel, oh, there's somebody who's not part of us. There's somebody, there must be something wrong. There must be broken. And it feels odd and it's irritating because it takes my attention away from us all being together.
Mm.
So also what we found very important for reflectors maybe to realize is that when we were just Lorenz and me in Kenya for a couple of months, that me as a generator, I wasn't getting what I needed. I wasn't getting another generator aura with which I can do things together. So we were right on the beach, and I would never say to Lorenz, come, let's go for a swim. Because he would go for a swim when he wanted to. And me, I need other people in a way that activates my generator. And as soon as we had friends over, I would say to them, let's go for a swim, automatically. Mm-hmm. And it's a need. It's an absolute need for generators.
Interesting.
You need something to respond to.
Yeah.
And it's much more than that. How I feel it is, if Una's motor doesn't have another generator motor, another sacral to kind of it's like one cogwheel getting into the other cogwheel, and they start turning together. And with, if there's non-energy types, and that's true with reflectors and projectors as well, and I would even assume with manifestors to a point, although a little bit less, maybe a bit less, but there is like Una's motor is starting spinning and it just doesn't grip with me. And I can feel the motor. I can even feel the motor going into my system and looking for something. And I know that I don't have it. And I know that it feels like it's missing. And I know that there would be a need that something is responding to that energy, but it's just not there. So, and earlier, of course, I was in a relationship for 5 years with a generator. I would try to accommodate for that motor. I would try to, like, I would feel when her energy wasn't spent. I would feel when something's missing. I would feel when she actually would want to do something. So I would try to fire that up and be part of that. And of course, all in all, it was rather exhausting.
Yeah, because you want to people please. You want her to be happy. Because if she's happy, then you are happy.
Yeah, but the way to make her happy is being somebody that I am not. So that doesn't really work either.
That's dangerous.
Yeah. So what I think is it really needs generators need other generators.
Yes.
And a reflector isn't a good substitute like none of the other types is a good substitute for that generator.
Mhm.
Just one thing, there was a key word in an A4 page, I think it's on the Telegram group, about all the types, and there was some keywords about how everybody wants to relate to other people, for the types, and for the reflector it was among yet separate. And to me, that hits the nail absolutely on the head. That is what I want to be. I want to be among yet separate. In my world, if the generators are in the middle and I am sitting in my own space, I am among them. I am part of them. I am part of the community. Yet I am separate.
I love that. That says it all. Yeah. The other thing I find when I'm with a group is, and somebody pointed this out to me many, like decades ago, before I even understood about, I didn't even know about human design or what I was. And they said that in a business meeting, I would sit there really quietly and not say a word and look and listen and whatever. But they said, when I opened my mouth, whatever came out of my mouth was really vital. So I think that's a little bit of how we are, right? It's that although we're there and we're not of the group, we're surrounded, and yet but we're, I can't even explain it. It's that observer state, that feeling of being there and of taking it all in, and then at some point, I guess it's like the decision making. There's at some point something goes, this is what you need to say, this is what you need to be, this is how you need to act, and it's something that just appears. Well, not magic. Yeah.
Well, that sounds beautiful, Elizabeth. That is really how I do think a reflector who has deconditioned really ought to work. And of course, we meet lots of reflectors who haven't done that deconditioning, who have not stayed themselves and are still trying to be a generator or trying to be a manifestor and work hard, or so that's very valuable, Elizabeth, what you're saying.
I think it comes with age. That you reach the point where there's only so much that you're going to put up with or be put upon for and tolerate. So I go into groups and I sit and I observe, and if I have something to say, great, then it is important, and if I don't, then at the end of the evening I go home and it's like, oh, okay. So I was physically there. I was there as an observer. Was I fully invested with everything I had? No, not on that level, not on that.
Yeah,
that sounds really bad, but I think you know what I mean, right?
I do, and it also goes into this middle gate in the root, going upwards towards the solar, the sacral. That is a gate of mutation, where when you have that, you can just sit in a room, and the people in your aura can change, or they don't change, but there's a possibility of a mutation happening.
Yeah. Huh.
Gate 60.
Okay, thank you. It's too small for me to see here.
I'm just asking because I think that's the one I have as well.
Yeah, I think the effect is it's gate 60, yes, and the effect is a bit stronger if you have the full channel. I have gate 60 as well. But yeah, definitely those are the format channels, the 3 from the root to the sacral, and they have a big impact on your own system, but your environment as well.
It's nice to hear we have some of the same gates here.
Yeah. What are the chances of that? That's really cool.
Yes, another thing maybe of interest is the reflector. As a child grows up and is not treated the way a reflector needs to be treated, And so something comes in also with just being a reflector. Nobody understands me, nobody gets me.
Right.
I can't figure this world out. I don't want to be in this world, all these things. And then
Mhm.
something can happen with the reflector. They can, whatever it is, they can become whiny, they can be sad, they can be angry, any of those reactions that then seem to crop up again and again until you've detoxed from that. Does that resonate?
Yeah, my feeling is anxious and afraid all my life. So yeah, that was my childhood, and I'm getting out of it piece by piece.
Yeah, I mean, insignificant, no self-esteem, feeling always like a square peg in a round hole. I actually went through a period of being convinced I was adopted because I just didn't fit.
Oh.
And I didn't understand why. And it was decades before I understood. And I worked for, 30 some odd years in computers because here was another way for me to be able to totally disconnect from myself. And I was totally and utterly disconnected emotionally, and in every other way. And it took a Reiki course where I absolutely refused to put my hands on another person to start the journey of realizing there was another aspect that I had. I completely shut down at an extremely young age, like tiny. I was tiny when I shut everything down.
Yeah, all the feelings, or
both the feelings and the ability to sense and feel, and to live intuitively and to live through, to live the way I was meant to live, I think, and to trust myself.
Yeah.
Did you have any abilities or like senses, or did you see anything as a child?
It was so shut down that I really don't know. I was a toddler, I think, when I shut it down, maybe 2 or 3 years old when I shut everything down. And I really only have a vague sense that there was something there, but no. I was told to be practical and don't daydream and don't do this and don't do that. And, right, so.
Yeah. Another thing I've noticed about that I've seen in several reflectors, when one is in a big group at a party or so on, they will come and be with one person, and then they'll move out of that aura and go to another aura, and then they'll move out of that, and they just sort of float through the room when that is possible, when you're not stuck to seats. And I'm always surprised. They'll sit down next to me, and then I'll get up and move along. And first I was thinking, is it me? or what is it? That do you find that too? Do you find that you float around from aura to aura?
I avoid parties like the plague. And large groups. I'm trying to think, when I've been in gatherings when I was flying down to the States for a group that I belong to. I very quickly figured out the people that I felt the most comfortable with, where I could actually relax and be me in whatever fashion that was. And those are the people I naturally gravitate towards. So if I'm with somebody and I don't feel comfortable or in my skin, or I feel I have to be, you do the chameleon shapeshifter thing where you put yourself in that position and you are able to function. But you're functioning, you're not fully who you are. And so, yeah, I guess in those situations, I'll make an excuse and go get a drink or do something or whatever, and move off. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel similar as you, Elizabeth. It's like, yeah, big crowds are kind of scary. And sometimes it feels like as it's good. It's nice to go around and meet new people, but it's like, yeah, the chameleon, you can do that, but it doesn't feel joyful to do that. It's like, yeah, this is a gift I have, but I don't want to do it. So I go back to the people I can be myself with.
Have you ever played with that though, that whole shape-shifting thing that we can do? Because if you do it, if you go into a situation and say, okay, I'm going to totally be the observer today, and you go into that, it's actually quite fascinating. So, you know, if I go to book club or whatever, and I'm actually sitting in the circle with all the women and recognizing how I'm shifting and how they're shifting in response to me, it's quite, it sounds like a science experiment. I guess it is. but it can be, but you've got to go in with that decision that you're going to do that. Otherwise you just get sucked into the vortex, right?
I think that's why it feels kind of anxious to me to go in a larger group and be a part of it, because what am I going to reflect here? Because there are so many personalities and types and so many possibilities. Like, what am I going to be in this party? How can I be a chameleon in this?
Right. And then when you catch yourself off guard and you're going, why am I behaving like this? Or why am I saying these things? And it's like, oh, okay, I'm getting into this discussion and this is not me.
No.
Right. And you get sucked right in, and before you realize what's going on. And it's
I enjoy it by now, I must say. Like, sometimes I'll hear something come out of my mouth, and I know completely this isn't me. That isn't me at all. It's still funny that it comes out of my mouth. I notice it easiest with words. Like, it goes very quick that I take up the vocabulary of where I am at. I use the same words. I use the same expression.
Yep.
But as if I'm not getting lost in it, if I can go out, if I have my own space that I can decompress, and especially if I can decide when I want to engage in that and when I don't have to, I find it quite joyful often. It's interesting to me.
The key is to be able to get away, right?
Can, when you come, I think, Lorenz, what you're saying is that when you come home, you have your own space. Is that?
Yeah,
that helps.
That is crucial. Like, it really drains me if I cannot go anywhere where I can shut the door and it's really just my own space. If I don't have that, I don't think I could do that anymore. Like, it's just this kind of funny story. I don't think it was so funny for her. When in my with my ex-girlfriend, who is a generator, she went somewhere for 3 months or so, and she found how nice it is to sleep in her own space, and she slept so well. So when she came back, she wanted to try that. I never went back.
No. Me neither.
Really, really, I mean, important for everyone, but really, really important for reflectors. And it's in the beginning, my first experiences, we arrived in Kenya, and there was Lorenz and his girlfriend, and we'd go to a restaurant that had couches, and Lorenz would just, it's the afternoon, he would just lie down, okay, in the middle of the restaurant on the couch. And, you know, as a generator, what's wrong? But what I wonder is that if you're lying down, when you're upright, you're at 90 degrees to the electromagnetic field of the earth. When you lie down, you become more like the the dream rave in human design, where many of the channels and centers don't exist anymore. So that actually might be a way of saving energy for a reflector, lying down in public, still being able to be there, but not taking everything in.
I hadn't thought of that. Interesting.
Yeah, it comes with a discomfort that, hey, what are you doing? Are you okay? Are you okay? Are you okay? And you have to respond to it, and you have to feel their feelings about, oh no. But if you can lay there in peace and quiet, then it's, then you're charging your batteries.
Yeah. Yeah. So just lying down whenever it is.
It's interesting though. I think what you say is very true. I only lie down when I never lie down if I'm alone, unless I actually go into a state of deep relaxation. So I think what you're saying is very accurate. I'm lying down in a setting is actually, this is kind of exhausting. I don't want to remove myself. If I lay down, the impact will be lessened.
And you want to be there. You want to hang on and listen to it and observe the people.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Can I come with a question?
Sure.
So, do you all know your motivation? Yeah. Because I have the guilt motivation. I wonder, do any of you have that?
Oh, I don't remember off the top of my head. I'd have to look it up. So
But I feel like maybe motivation would be like a clue for a reflector to actually get things done. Because this is just me soundboarding kind of, but I feel like when my house is so gross that I need to do it because my guilt is coming in and saying, go do it. This is so messy. You got to do it. You can't stay. There are coming people. You can't do it. Then I get the energy to just do it. And I feel like that's kind of the guilt motivation, but I don't know if that's correct. And I'm just playing around with how that shows up for me.
Trying to figure out how I can,
I just recently read something from Ra where he said that motivation for, and it resonates really well for me, motivation for mental projectors, so that's interesting for Piliaka as well, and reflectors is extremely important because they have no inner authority. I mean, we kind of said what feels like authority for us, right? But motivation is something for the mind to hold on to while we are in the decision process. And it's also something, so my motivation is desire. And it's like a guiding rail is what Ra says, which really makes sense to me. So whenever I am in the process of doing something or going somewhere, or people around me that are in line with my desires, that's a signpost that I'm on the right path. If people are trying to pull me away from my desire and put me into my transference, which would be innocence, or for you, Maren, would be hope too. Whenever people are trying to pull you into the transference, then I know, okay, something is iffy, something is not quite right. Having motivation as something stable to kind of always, for the mind especially, to fall back on and relax if it's a very turbulent I don't know, phase, or the decision isn't clear yet. That's what I heard motivation described as what makes a lot of sense for me, especially for mental projectors and reflectors.
I just look mine up, it's innocence.
Yeah, so for you, it would be pulled into desire. That
Okay.
isn't very good. So
So
for you,
now
it's not
we
about
are
desire.
very, very deep into human design. We haven't even talked about motivation on our Zoom yet. And I see that we've done 1.5 hours, more than 1.5 hours.
Yeah.
Are there any last wise words?
I'm just so happy to get to talk to reflectors. Thank you very much for being here. Like, thank everybody, but thank you especially for being here.
No, thank you too, because this has been really, I don't know that I've ever actually talked in any depth to more than one reflector. So this has been really, really enlightening for me. I really appreciate it. And it's lovely meeting you all. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. It's really good to not just really know one reflector, but get the confirmation from the others on certain things that I've observed. Yeah.
Yeah, it's brilliant. You have asked some amazing questions and opened up some deep thoughts. So thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, they're most welcome. We'll close off, and thank you for everyone who's listening, and please do comment your observations, whether you're a reflector or whether you're with a reflector. We really need to understand the reflectors better and better.
Thank you. Yeah. Okay, bye everyone.
Okay, bye.
Hopefully we'll talk again soon. Okay, bye.
Yeah, bye.
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 Bye.